Okay, hello everybody. I'm Jimi Cohen, co-founder of Treegens. We're growing a movement of regenerators around the world through the most rewarding and transparent tree planting. So I'm going to be talking about how Web3 is set up to solve these two problems. I'm going to talk about how to grow the movements. And by the end of this talk, you're going to know the meaning of life. That sound good?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. So I've done more than 350 episodes of a podcast called Max Impact. It's all about empowering change makers to maximize their positive impact. And my first question is always, what's your why? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What fuels you to burn the midnight oil and to do all the amazing things that you do? So I'm going to start by first sharing my why, and I implore you guys to also think about your why, your purpose. Why do you do what you do? So I planted my first tree when I was 4 years old. My mother's an environmentalist. They were overdeveloping in Australia illegally. So she was an activist and also planting these mangrove trees. And that sort of planted the seed for some of the work that I'm doing today. But it was really in 2019 when the Australian forest fires really kicked off. And I was watching these videos and learning about how 3 billion animals were burnt alive. You know, this is the equivalent of more than 300 holocausts, and these are sentient beings, able to experience both pleasure and pain. And so that deeply affected me. Like, it literally brought me to tears, and I was in a pretty dark place until I decided to do something about it. I launched a little Facebook fundraiser. We raised a few $1,000s, and I instantly started to feel better, and I had more energy. I was able to go through this transformation from literally no purpose or energy to having unstoppable energy. Like, I've done a live stream for 60 hours straight. I've broke the world record for most trees planted in a day by one person twice, the second time with Guinness World Records, and done some crazy things like this because I took action, was able to find something that I was passionate about, and then scaled that. So today, I literally have no hesitation to speak with people. I'm speaking at conferences all the time and doing this podcast. But believe it or not, I was actually a pretty introverted person. So in university, you wouldn't believe it today, but sometimes I even see people that I know and look the other way, just have less interactions. I was a very different person back then, right? But I knew that in order to make my first startup succeed, I had to speak with as many people as I possibly could. So I literally set up a booth in the most high foot traffic area of my university campus and literally pitched everyone that walked by. And just through repetition, I was able to kind of burst through any sort of hesitation there. So the first problem that I want to talk about how Web3 is set up to solve is transparency. So, the impact sector is kind of notorious for having a lack of transparency a lot of the times. Quick story. So I used to throw charity festivals for a good cause. I did a 3-day charity festival. And a year later, I was following up with one of these nonprofits, right? I was following up, trying to get an update on the donation that we'd made. It was more than $10,000. And because I wanted to update the people who supported us, right, and let them know about the impact that they made so that we can, make even more impacts. I was following up. About a year later, they finally said, okay, we'll bring the update to you. We'll come to your office. And I'm like, okay, you could have just emailed me, but sure, you're welcome, come through. So they came through and they had this printout, right? And on the printout, this is for a clean water project. It had a photo and it didn't have their current logo. It didn't have their previous logo. It actually had the logo before their previous logo on this update. So it was very clear that something here is broken. This is an ancient update that was being recycled and sent to all these different people. And so that's kind of one of the beautiful things about blockchain is that there's something called an open ledger, right? So everyone can see how the money flows in, and also how it can flow out. So to tackle this problem, we have an AI tree counting tool. So people just use their smartphones. Right now, we're planting trees all across Kenya, Tanzania. You can use drones or smartphones. You film the land before, and then you film the land after. And with more than 98% accuracy, the AI can count exactly how many trees have been planted, far more accurate than a human can count, right? And so what we do is then put these video updates on the blockchain. We call it an NFU, so a non-fungible update, right? So everyone can see all the updates that are sent out, and that way you can have more layers of transparency. We're also building a flow of interface so everyone can see all of the updates. And the second, so this is what we call proof of plant. So this is basically called an eco credit. So it's like a biodiversity credit. We're launching something called mGrow token. So the only way to mint mGrow is to literally plant trees and verify it initially with the AI, but then our DAO members stake their governance token. They also look at things like GPS data. They look at things like landmark data to then issue this mGrow token to the tree planters. And you get a 6 of the mGrow token, up front, and then over the course of 3 years, every 6 months, you do health checks, and that's how you get 1 mGrow per tree. And then we're also incentivizing people because currently our economy values the degeneration of nature a lot more than it values the regeneration of nature, right? That's the reason why we see so much deforestation in the world. It's an incentives failure, right? And so there's a beautiful thing. You guys are familiar with the carbon markets, with carbon credits. You guys probably heard of carbon credits, right? So if I were to plant a mangrove tree today, it takes 25 years to fully sequester about 308 kilograms of carbon, and it happens according to a bell curve. So the first 5 years, there's not that much carbon that's actually being sequestered, right? And I believe the purpose of carbon credits should be to take the funding and put it back into the good thing, right? The carbon sequestering initiatives. But there's a huge time delay to when you can actually do that. So that's why we work with something called carbon forwards. So a carbon forward is where you can work with an impact investor, and they'll buy the future value of those carbon credits in the short term. And even though they get a discounted rate when they do that, it's still an order of magnitude more funds than what it costs us to plant the trees in the first place. So this means that we can actually multiply the mangrove trees 9x every time we do a carbon forward deal. And it also means we can take a portion of those carbon forwards and actually reward the mGrow token holders. So they become bullish on regeneration, they become bullish on tree planting, funding, and growing the trees. We are also building the world's first dynamic semi-soul-bound token. So this is where I really think that NFTs are moving towards in the future. Dynamic NFTs can visually change. They visually change, in this case, in 2 different ways. So there's a mind orb and a heart orb. And these lights actually get brighter according to how many trees you fund or how many trees you plant, respectively. So when you get issued the mGrow token, that's how we know you planted the trees. And when you burn the token, when you send it to a dead wallet address, that's when you retire this eco credit. That's when you can make an environmental claim. We also send you the non-fundable update when you do that, and then your mind orb gets brighter. So this is a form of gamification, right? You might have heard of soulbound tokens. So this is basically, soulbound means non-transferable. So you can't transfer these NFTs. But the most successful NFT projects actually get the majority of their revenue from the resale royalties. Every time it's sold, a percentage goes back to the project to do the good thing. And so what we're doing is semi-soulbound. So this means you can still trade the artwork. Maybe you want to upgrade yours, you find a new NFT that you want to rep as your profile picture. But those impact metrics, those lights on the mind and on the hearts, those are non-transferable because we're gamifying tree planting. You wouldn't want someone buying your high score on a pinball machine, for example, right? So that's why it's semi-soulbound on those impact metrics. So yeah, we also have leaderboards, and we're uniting the regen movement. This is really a movement of people all across the world. There's something called green pill chapters. So when you take the green pill as opposed to the red or the blue pill, you're going down this Web3 rabbit hole about how crypto economics can regenerate the world. And there are so many possibilities with this that we can talk about in the next panel as well about tokenizing impact. But there are green pill chapters all across the world that are doing this. They're onboarding people into Web3. They're getting people into regeneration at the same time. There's also refi nodes all around the world doing similar things, onboarding people, organizing events. And we're actually co-organizing something called the Regenaissance Festival. So this is where we're actually bringing together all of these folks. It's gamified. Everyone is making a positive impact. And these are kind of the social signals, right? The reason you buy any brand, of whether it be clothing or car, etc., is you're communicating something about yourself to the world, right? But your online presence, your profile picture, for example, this is actually seen a lot more than something you might be wearing that day. And so these are all social signals as we gamify all these different things. So I told you by the end of this talk that you would know the meaning of life. Okay, so what is the meaning of life? This is actually, the meaning of life is actually hidden within the question. It's disguised within the word meaning. So if something gives you meaning, what does it give you? It gives you fulfillment, right? It gives you aliveness, this sense of purpose behind what you're doing, right? And that's different for everyone. And I believe everyone has that inside of them, something that they're made to be doing in the world. And your body has an interesting way of letting you know when you are on the right path, because it fills you with this energy to do all these amazing things. But it also has a way of letting you know when you're not on the right path, and you might feel like you have no energy or no real drive towards doing something. So if you haven't found that meaning in the work you're doing yet, I really encourage you to try many, many different things until you do, because I think that is the meaning of life. That is like, there's no greater feeling than really tapping into that passion. So I think terminology is important. So we're kind of changing the Web3 terminology a little bit. A lot of people used to say WAGMI, we're all going to make it, right? Now we're saying we're all going to make impact, right? A lot of people say LFG, like grow, go, but we're saying grow. We're going to say let's go, let's grow rather. So let's grow is a bit more easy. So I want to encourage, okay, can I get everyone to stand up? This is a participatory activity, all right? Everyone stand up. All right. And if I could just get you to like scooch together a little bit. So if you're on the side, go there. All right, I'm gonna feel something right now. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna count 3, 2, 1, and we're all gonna say let's grow together. All right. So I don't hold back, all right? Like as loud as you possibly can. Say let's grow. All right. We're ready? 3, 2, 1, let's grow. Okay, you good? You ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's grow. All right, thank you.